Hey guys, Jeremy from Not Weird, just homeschooled. I'm recording this from my house very early in the morning, so part of my grogginess. We did our best to try and clean up the audio for Todd Pincone's episode, but we did run into some technical difficulties, which were my fault. I was just so excited to see him and have this conversation with him, and he's been such a long friend of mine that like we just kind of quickly went into rolling, and I didn't mind my p's and q's as far as like making sure everything was set up properly. But it's a great conversation. We did our best to clean it up. We've been working really hard on it, but it is what it is. So we had done a second episode together because we weren't sure if this one saved. So you can go to patreon.com/not weird just homeschooled to see that episode. That episode is very personal to where my life is now, what has happened in the recent past. So a lot of it was so personal to the point that I wasn't sure if I should release it publicly. So if you want to listen to it, it's a great conversation. Again, go to patreon.com/not weird just homeschool for that conversation. This conversation with Todd, the episode you're about to listen to, absolutely incredible, and I'm so honored that Todd came by and had this convo with me. So check it out, have fun, and I will see you on the next episode. A lot of people have been asking me if like, oh, you thought like, do you think that something was going on before? And I was like, I don't know, and I hope I never know.
Yeah, yeah. At this point, nothing good's coming out of that.
No, it's just gonna hurt more. Why would I
Right,
want to know that?
right.
And so like I was just like, if anybody ever finds out, don't tell me.
Yeah, yeah,
Just leave it be.
yeah. That's definitely something that, as I've gotten older, um, and I think especially going through everything with my parents that I have, um, I really buy into for certain people. There's certain things that happen that, like, even if you want to know, it's truly going to make your life worse. So that's like the gamble. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I could find out, and it just feel worse longer, or just not ever know.
Yeah, I'd
And
rather not know.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that's the way
I
to go.
don't. I mean, I personally don't think there was.
Yeah,
Um, and that's like even coming from, you know what I mean? The I guess the least bias or the most bias, like you think that I would say like, oh, a month after we split up, like there's no way there wasn't something going on before.
yeah,
And I really don't think there was. I really don't, but who knows? It is pretty quick, month after. And even she tried to claim that it was 3 months. Well, I was in 3 months of hell. What was I supposed to do? Wait around, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, it wasn't 3 months. Even so, 3 months isn't that long.
yeah. Not a very long time.
No.
Not a very long time.
Uh,
Would certainly wouldn't have been too much to ask.
right. Like, give it a year or something. Then I have no reason to bitch. But the whole time she's trying to like, we're gonna co-parent the dogs. She at one point she wanted alimony for the dogs, which was hilarious. Yeah, she wanted alimony for dogs.
Brother.
I couldn't, yeah. Even my lawyer was like, "Well, I'll talk to her lawyer. It'll be fine." And even he went to the lawyer, was like, "Dude, what is this? Like, this isn't a thing." And so they took that out pretty quickly.
Oh
And then,
God.
yeah, it got pretty contentious to a point where like towards the end, like right before, like probably 2 weeks before the actual divorce was finalized. I was like, if there's anything you got to say to me, you can do it through my lawyer. Like, I'm done with you. This is like completely toxic
Yeah.
behavior on your part. And uh, the thing that like really like blows my mind through all of it is that somehow to all those people, I'm still the asshole in the situation. Like I lost 30K. I lost the house. I let her take pretty much everything except for my dresser and my dog. Like she got everything. And for some reason I'm still like a huge prick to all of them for leaving because I had left leaving her with nothing while she was out of town, which in reality I moved my some of my clothes to my parents' house and I moved the guns out of the house. That's all I moved. The only thing I moved. And I was like, I don't think she was going to do anything with the guns, but I just didn't want that element to even be around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just removed the element from the situation, and I'm glad that I did. You know,
Yeah.
I think that was probably a wiser choice than leaving it around. But uh, that was like the big thing that they all like hold against me is that I moved things out while she was out of town. And I was like, I did that as like a thing of compassion because what I just wanted her to watch me leave,
Right.
like pack up
Well,
my shit and go.
yeah, as a dude in my 40s, I was so stoked to move back into my with my parents temporarily that I just couldn't wait to get my stuff out.
Yeah.
You know?
As a 40-year-old man, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't wait.
I was so super stoked to move back in with my parents. So
That's such a
just kidding.
God, that's such a good point.
It's just really chomping at the bit.
Yeah, now I wish I would have been I wish I had that in my pocket just to be like, yeah, this all adds up.
Well, I'm sure you'll run into some goon at some point that'll say something dumb and
Honestly, you know what my move is gonna be if I see them somewhere? If I see like all of them together,
yeah.
I'm buying them a round of beer and then I'm leaving. I'm gonna tell whoever's bartending. It's funny, the Zach Sales, I feel like you may he owns ABC Tavern with his parents.
I don't think I do. It might be somebody that I would recognize, but I've been gone for so long at this point.
I know, sometimes I forget.
There's like a whole I talk to Josh about this sometimes and even Joe Spags, where I'm like, I've been gone for it'll be 15 years coming up.
Wow, that's
There,
insane.
there's entire like, I watched the Now That's Class documentary, right? And I was like, other than the old dudes, you know, I don't know any.
I didn't even know there was a documentary.
Oh yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. Somebody put out like an hour long fucking ludicrous Now That's Class documentary. It is ludicrous.
Oh, now I'm excited to watch it.
I mean, it's sort of what you expect. But after, Josh and I started talking about it, and I was like, when I moved, that place had only been open for 3 years. Like we moved in 2011,
Wow.
like spring of 2011. It's like that place had only been open for yeah, like 3 years or something, and ended up being open 17 or whatever before I don't know something like that before it
Well,
closed. But there were so many people in it that I didn't know. I was like, I don't know who these people are.
it's even a whole new scene now. Like I don't recognize anybody hardly,
Sure, sure.
even when I
Well,
go to shows.
because we're old and
Right.
like you know what I mean. Like that's what it. Like Josh and I've talked about that where I'm like, yeah, I mean, kids that are 20 now going to shows were literally not alive when we were like playing
Failing to pick up
shows at the
chicks.
right, you know, playing shows at the First Tower and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like people just weren't alive for God's sake. So it's like, yeah, I don't know any of these people, but yeah, there were so many people in that Now That's Class documentary. There are probably people that are say, maybe in their early 30s now, but like,
Yeah.
that means I didn't live there before you would have, started going to shows or going to class or going to, whatever. I mean, we're coming up on, we're what, 3 years short of 20 years since the Davenport closed? 20 years.
Crazy.
It makes no sense at all.
Well, after year 2, that place had been closed longer than it was open.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. 100%. 100%. But it's definitely, it's still hard to like wrap your head around 20, almost, I mean, it being 17 years or whatever. Since,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so.
Yeah, it's probably been about 20 years since you and I met.
It would have been, yeah, it would have been 2006.
Yeah, 2006, 2000.
2005, maybe.
Maybe.
No, I think it would have been 2006 when I started working at Arabica.
Yeah, that sounds right. And I had only been there maybe 6 months, something like that, not long before you. And well, you and I had met before then. I don't think we had. I don't think we
No,
had.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Yeah, I don't think that we had. I don't think we had met at all. And like I just remember we barely talked when you first started, and then we got put together on a shift, and I don't think we talked maybe more than like a few words to each other before that shift.
Yeah, probably not. We were probably best buds by the end of it.
We were, because I remember.
Was it an overnight shift?
Yeah, it was an overnight shift.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And we were like maybe an hour into it, and you're just kind of like pacing around, and I could tell there's something on your mind, or you had just gone through something, and you're just pacing around, you're doing stuff and whatever. And so finally I walk up to you and I go, "What's her name?" And then we've been best friends ever since.
Yeah,
and it was over a woman.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was. I remember the whole situation, and like it's just funny that like I kind of knew it had to have been a woman, because like I know that face.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I know this face all too well. I could see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
like
it's
just to go
probably
like,
a mix
what's
of
her
that
name?
and knowing that some sort of degenerate gang of Romanians would be entering the building at any moment to terrorize the place, and have to deal with that. I work with a Romanian guy. Somehow the job that I had when I moved down here, there were 2 Romanian dudes, and the job I have now, there's a Romanian guy. And the guy that I work with currently, I've told him about the hijinks of his people, and he just thinks he just thinks it's so funny. He's like, it's so dumb. My favorite being when they lit the bathroom on fire.
That was a good night. And any Friday or Saturday night, just watching just the piles of sunflower seeds collect throughout the evening, it was insane.
I will say, I think my favorite thing that's happened at any job I've ever had was Rollin and I working on like a Sunday afternoon or something, and he sees a couple of them get out of their car in the parking lot with 2 bags of KFC, and he was just like, "Oh, no fucking way!" And as soon as he waits for them to sit down on the patio and take the food out, and he just goes, "I'll be back," and he walked out the door, picked up all the food, walked over, put it in the trash can, turned around, and he's like, "Get the fuck out!" And I was just inside. I was crying. I was laughing. I could not believe any of it happened. Like, I mean, I knew he was going to do something. I didn't expect him that he was going to do that. And
Right.
Man, just an all time moment for me at that place, and maybe again at any job. I don't know if I've ever.
I just love the amount of blatant disregard we had.
For customers. Yeah.
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 Like, can
My
you imagine anywhere else, like anywhere else doing that? And that's
no,
acceptable behavior.
no, not at all. The closest thing to that was the night that like some dipshit band played at the bar, and they were mad that we didn't have Bud Light, and they were on stage like telling people, "Hey, after the show, we're gonna meet at some like shithole Pearl River
Yeah.
bar," and you just got on the mic and were like, "Get the fuck out of my bar." And
Yeah, and
they
then I
got
cut
like
all the
all yeah, you cut all their shit, all the mics,
yeah.
all the gear, and they were all like up in arms, and I'm sure a mix of us and Dave and everybody else just
Well, I
kindly
remember
escorted them
screaming at
out.
them because they were like ran right up to the sound booth, and I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
screaming at them,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like start slowly but surely walking back, and I was like, holy shit, I'm a mean dog. You know what I mean? Like I'm feeling pumped and I'm like, oh, these little fucking shits. I showed them, and I turn around and it's like you, P Fresh, Ghetto Dave, my cousin Kevin, just like
That's right.
massive
Kevin was
dudes.
there. Yeah, it was just a bunch
Yeah,
of big dudes, but they
just a
were
bunch
there
of
like with I think like they had like their dads or they had like family that came in from they were from out of state. And
yeah.
they had family that like came in too, and their dads were all bent out of shape and the whole 9 yards. Just like thinking to myself, like, oh God, imagine like, Chicago area man killed by gentleman affectionately referred to as Ghetto Dave. Like, oh God, like
A
50-year-old
fine
guy
tobacco
just
salesman.
yeah, they're like crushing his fucking head. Oh
I
man.
got to bring back. I still have his. Still
Hi.
have Chief Smoke a blunt. The Dutch Masters like Native
You
American
still have that?
statue.
Yeah.
I still have it. It's in my dining room.
Have you seen
This is
him
like
recently?
no, I haven't seen him
No.
in
Oh, okay.
probably a good 2 or 3 years. Actually, probably even longer than that. It's probably been pre-pandemic since the last time I
Yeah.
saw him.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen him. I talk to him periodically, but yeah.
Yeah, I think him and I texted back and forth like 6 or 7 months ago. Uh Something like that. And it was just like I can't even remember what it was about, but yeah, he is a interesting character, that man.
He's
Yeah,
one
and
of a
it's
kind.
truly, truly one of a kind. Yeah, it was just funny because in my head I'm like, oh, I'm the toughest guy on the planet, and I turn around, you guys are behind me. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. Well, I don't know what I was thinking that
Oh,
it like, oh yeah, it was me who bullied them the fuck out of the bar or whatever. Yeah, because they were like the whole time they're like, oh fuck this place, we're gonna go to a different place, and then the guy was like, what the fuck? I was like, well, don't tell you, don't advertise another bar.
yeah. What are you doing? We let you
Yeah,
play here. Shut the fuck up. There's
okay,
120. There's 120 beers
right. You can find something.
you can find. You know?
Did we have? I feel like we were one of the first bars to have banquet beer.
Yeah, and we had God, what was we had those awful 40s, or maybe they were tall boy. Big what was it Big City Ice?
Oh my God, yes, I
Do you
forgot
remember that?
about that. Yeah, because we had like a whole slew of different kind of 40s. Like we had Mickey's, Big City Ice, we had Colt 45. Uh, there
Yeah,
was
you can.
one other. Oh, Cobra, King Cobra, or something like that.
Yeah, you can get anything, and they were just upset that there was no Bud Light. Nice beer,
We had like,
trash beer, beer in between, whatever you want. There were literally 100+ options, but no, no Bud Light. Fuck off.
yeah, that's such a weird time because like that became such a practice, like a standard practice for most places to have that many different kind of options of beer, and it was like such like a niche thing for us to be doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Crazy, crazy that Ryan's dead.
Big time.
I shouldn't laugh after that statement, but it's
Big
funny.
time. No,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like watching that episode with you and Aaron, and you guys were talking about him, and you did such a good job of like summarizing him. But yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Fun about it. We at that point, like, we only had periodic contact, but he had started getting into the basketball, like while following the Cavs, and he reached out to me. I think it's just like, who do I know that likes sports? Todd. And we like had some back and forth chatting about like, yeah, the Cavs, and then next thing I knew was finding out he was dead. And I
Wow.
still like don't even know. I don't know that I really know anything. Like, I've heard some stories, but I don't know that I know like the real story. I don't know if anyone knows the real story. I don't know. But
Yeah,
it is.
I thought I had known the real story, but I had Joe Pensvolto on a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and he had a completely different version of what happened than I did.
Oh, all right.
So
Well, I would guess that what I've heard is probably closer to what you knew or thought you knew or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Well, it wasn't surprising. I mean, from the time the bar closed, it was just the fucking race to the bottom,
yeah,
And like every time I would see him or talk to him, it was like, some new addiction he was kicking or him downplaying an addiction that other people had told me was like totally out of control.
yeah,
Um, but I think ultimately, like, he never got over the bar. Like, I think that he had this truly grand vision, um, you know, and I I don't know that he and I ever talked about it, but like, he had been like exiled from that place before we decided to walk away. You know what I
hmm
mean? So he was
As a matter of
already
fact,
like,
his first time back was when we walked away.
yeah, that would make sense. Yeah,
Yeah, to come grab some shit, and we were leaving.
sure, sure. Yeah, but I don't know. He, you and Aaron like nailed it where you kind of talked about he was such he's just kind of a sentimental, like from a mental standpoint, I think he was like a sentimental hoarder, so to speak,
hmm
and he had a real hard time not, you know, if not living in the past, looking at the past, and kind of what ifing and, all of that stuff. Like, there were so many conversations, especially in those first couple of years after the bar closed, where like that was all he would talk, like, well, I'm working at the Beachland, but they don't do this how we used to do it, which I liked how we used to, you know what I mean? It would always go back to, uh, to the dad part. And,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It just felt like he never sort of recovered from it.
no, I think it's because Ryan liked to pride himself on the fact that like he thought he knew everything or could predict everyone, and
Sure.
uh, he had a sense of how everyone was, et cetera, et cetera. And he didn't see that coming, none of it. And I think that
No.
really shook him.
Yeah. No, I don't think, I mean, certainly none of us did, but I think you're 100% right. Like, Steve got him. Like,
hmm
Steve beat him, and think like, if I'm sure you have, you sit around and think about the relationship those two had. Like, so much of that relationship was like, who is smarter than him?
Yeah,
Who can one up the other? Who can, and Steve won,
yeah. Steve won that one for
you
sure.
know, won, won big time. Um, yeah, and I think if I saw Steve just being such a piece of shit, I'd be like, Well, congratulations on killing Ryan Yankee.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, knowing him, he would have found a way to find. He would have found something.
That, that,
Because you're right. He was such a uh, uh, a nostalgic, emotional hoarder. The
yeah,
fact that he would have found some. If it wasn't that, it would have been some woman.
for sure, for sure. No, you're right. You're definitely right. I just,
As much as I hate Steve, fuck him, but
yeah, yeah. At the same time, I wouldn't want to give him the credit, but at the same time, there's part of it that's like, would it make him cry? Like, would it make him just like feel like total shit? Probably not, because he's like an
no.
actual
Yeah.
scumbag. But I'd like to inflict some sort of pain on him in
Yeah.
some way,
He's
some way,
literally
shape, or form.
he's literally the only person that I feel like I hate to use the term vitriol hate, but he's the only person that I like. I can honestly say that I don't think fondly of him ever.
Yeah, yeah,
I
one
mean,
hundred percent.
even Joe Willis sometimes I'll have fond memories of, and I still hate that guy.
I forgot about that dude. So
Yeah, yeah, that you should consider yourself lucky that you got to forget that guy. I had a nightmare about him like a couple weeks ago about how he moved into my new place. And I was like, you can't live here. And he's like, well, I'm living here now. So I don't know what you want to do. Like, he's like, I signed it with the owner of the building that I get to live here. And I was like, well, I'm going to have a talk with him. Like, there's a breach of, and I was like, I was just so pissed. I was so mad. I
just picturing
I,
you in a dream, like this is a breach contract. This is a
I'm going to get my lawyer
yeah,
involved.
what?
Man, it's crazy that you've been in Atlanta for that long, or near Atlanta that long.
Yeah, I mean, when we moved here. It was the very last weekend of April in 2011, and Violet was 2, and she's almost 17. She drives a car. We're looking at we're like looking at colleges and things.
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then now there's 2 other ones that Rhodes. He starts high school next year, and the tiny baby starts middle school next year. Like
What's her name again?
Her name's Eloise.
Yeah, I know. That was like the big secret for the long. Well, no one knew of
No,
that
I've
kid.
just called her. Yeah, we didn't even tell anyone Kelly was pregnant. Actually, we had the baby, and I was just like, "Hey, look, got a baby,
Yeah,
another one."
the ultimate social media move of all time, keeping that under wraps for as long as you guys did.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, and then I didn't tell. I like on social media anyway. Like I think I've just referred to her as secret baby for her entire life. You know, Yeah. Secret baby at volleyball practice. But there's still some. There's still some people, and I usually put a TM, like the TM emoji after secret baby, as though I'm like, that's just who
I,
she
I,
is.
I hope she gets a job in espionage or something like that.
Well, it's funny when you ask her what she wants to do. She's like, "Well, I want to do fashion design, but I also want to be a cashier at Publix." Publix is like the big grocery store down here, and we're
Yeah,
like that is a wildly varying career path that you have.
yeah,
Like, well, maybe like move to New York City or somewhere in Europe and design fashion, or ring out chicken tendies down here at the at the Publix. Follow your heart. Do it.
yeah.
Do what it is you want to do.
Best is when there's a sale. Oh man, those are the best days.
Yeah. Well, when Violet was little, it was like scientist or work at Annie Ann's, and we were like, how about maybe like wanting to own your own Annie Ann's, right? No, I just want to
Mhm.
work. I just want to work there and make the pretzels.
Yeah, why get involved with the whole bureaucracy and
It's
everything?
true, right? For a lot more stress owning the
Right.
just making pretzels.
Yeah, all you got to worry about is like, you know, getting involved with some sort of substance abuse once
That's right.
you're an actual
That's right.
employee.
That's right. Once you realize, you're, you know, mom and dad's age, and you're working at a mall kiosk making, making pretzels. The whole kind of what could have been sort of scenario, that you don't want to find
Right.
yourself in. But yeah, man, it's crazy to think that, really, I mean, yeah, I've lived in Atlanta longer than I lived in Cleveland,
Wild.
or coming, yeah, because I lived in Cleveland for, basically 10 years, after I left school. And yeah, we're coming up on, I've lived here for a third of my life, basically Northeast Ohio for 30 years, and then, you know, 15 down here, you know. So, and I drive a fucking truck. Um, my lone hobby is bass fishing. So, it's certainly, it's,
You own a truck, or that's what, like, that's
oh
now
no,
your profession?
I almost did the whole. I thought about doing the podcast from the driver's seat of the truck because I sort of look like a dude who records videos sitting in the driver's seat of his truck, and I was like, from an aesthetic standpoint, this might
Yeah.
be the way to go for the
Yeah,
podcast.
you've really embraced the Southern look.
So, well, that's what's funny is like other than the fact that I'm like going bald, so I shave my head now. The beard is the same as it's always been. It's
Right.
just it just says I've been through a lot uh, at this point. It's just white, and you know, and that's really come up. That really, like, again, the stuff my parents just like really accelerated the stress. The stress of life really accelerated the
Yeah,
hair going gray, hair going bald, beard. Oh,
I wasn't sure if you even
they're
wanted
going
to
gray.
bring that up.
Oh, I can talk about it anytime. You know.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
up to
was
you.
one.
I don't
Oh,
even know if we are catching up or if we have started. So, yeah.
that's the beauty of this podcast.
Well,
I
I've gotten
never
that
do.
feeling. So you never
Yeah,
do like an actual introduction. So
most of the introduction is me explaining how I don't do introductions, which
okay,
probably would just save me time by just doing one. But
I just yeah,
I think it's a fun ongoing bit for me that I never do an introduction, and then at some point I explain the fact for too long even that
sure,
don't do introductions.
sure. And probably typically after the guest does something like I just did, where I'm like, have we started? Or have
Yeah,
we?
yeah,
You know, like I feel like I've kind of been all over the place. We've sort of covered, a handful of things. Um, but yeah, no, I certainly you know can talk about that if that's something we want to talk about. It's good,
yeah.
it's
We
good. It's good for me to talk about it. Um, I've talked about it so many times at this point that yeah, I don't know. I can I can just kind of let go with it. But yeah, I always find, like, regardless of what the context is when I'm talking about it, that it's like a positive thing for me to do. So I don't mind, um, I don't mind doing it. It's one of those. The only time that I've hit a point where I was like no longer particularly okay with talking about it was I had started going to like a group therapy, uh, like group grief therapy thing, and it was at a church up the street, and I was like, this was in the first, like, I don't know, 6 months or so, and I was just really grasping at like what I can find to do to try and help. So I found this thing, and I go, and uh, very much sort of what you think of different group therapy from what you've seen in movies or TVs or whatever. Like, we're all going to sit in a circle and everyone's got their little white styrofoam cup of coffee. Um,
mhm.
But in this group, it was just me and elderly women. And the
Hmm.
elderly women was sort of a rotating cast. And there was your boy. And
Yeah.
it would start where everyone goes around and introduces themselves and why they were here. And I realized very quickly after the first time, once it gets to me, it's not going anywhere else ever. Like the next
Yeah.
hour, 2 hours, however long this is, like we're all just locked in on me. And I hated that from the standpoint of like, all of these old women are here for the same reasons that I am here. But
Sure.
when you go, yeah, my name's Todd, and I'm here because my parents were murdered. You know, there's like
Yeah.
there's the record scratch, and then of course people have questions and all of that, which is fine. Um, but the sort of sensational nature of that situation, right? Like then the session is over, and
Yeah.
they're all coming up to me crying, giving me a hug, and
Hmm.
then I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be. After hearing what you've been through, I shouldn't be. I was like, no, not true. Let's not.
Right.
We're not doing that. Like you had a partner for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 30 years, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. Like my loss is not more important than yours. Like
Right.
I just went through something that's thankfully most people don't. But like my loss is not more important in any way, stretch, like any way, shape, or form. You came here for a
Or less,
reason.
for that matter.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
not, like you can't sit here and compare what I just told you to what you're going through. Like you came here for a reason, and it's just as important as my reason.
Hmm.
And after doing that for several consecutive months, I was just like, nope, can't do this anymore. Because then, like, I'm just driving home after like 90 minutes or 2 hours of like a therapy session, feeling worse than when I showed up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. I just absolutely ruined the nights of 9 people that could have been my grandmother. Sick, sick,
Yeah.
and yeah. So other than that, though, um, yeah, I don't know what she's talking about. But yeah, we can tackle anything that you want, baby. I'm an open book.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like because it's such a, I guess, for lack of a better term, such a gruesome, violent way that things like way things happen, that it's hard to imagine anybody having any other response other than shock and uh a sense of insecurity over the fact that, like, oh, I just lost my loved one. Oh, I lost my loved one over time, where
Right.
you lost your loved one over a gruesome, uh uh what what's the term I'm looking for, like, senseless murder, you know what I mean?
Oh, and yeah, and then when you piece, like, you have sort of that core event and being what it is, but then like you piece all the other stuff together with it, where it's like, well, I was on vacation with them and my 3 children the day before.
Yeah.
The last thing my oldest child said to my mom as she was crying, and my mom asked why, was, Violet said, I just want to know when I'm going to see you again. Uh, they drive all the way home, and this, and are, yeah, brutally murdered. Um, I purposely didn't want to find out exactly like what the story was,
Yeah.
um, for a long time, and I ended up deciding I wanted to know before the trial started, because I just didn't want to. I wanted to know going into it, more or less. But um, yeah, but all the other pieces of, like, I mean, it was the whole weekend was a spree.
Hmm.
The guy was on a killing spree. My parents were two of 5 people that were killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was such a news story that like we were turning down fucking, you know, Good Morning America. You know, me being like, yeah, I don't really think that my 60 seconds of fame needs to be like me crying on Good Morning America. You know,
Right.
like me and Hoda sharing a cry. You know, I don't think that that's like anything I need to do. But yeah, you kind of piece all that stuff together and how long that guy was in their lives. And yeah, there's just like so many aspects of the whole story that are so wild, you know, how I found out, like getting a text from someone that I hadn't talked to or I hadn't seen in 15 plus years. And then like, you know, oh yeah, what block of that street did your parents used to live on? Oh, they're still there, 1300th block. Oh, crazy! There was a double homicide in the 1300th block of that street, and me like, oh man, I should probably call and like have my mom give me the dirt. Like, what happened in the
Right.
neighbor? What happened in the neighborhood? You know, like the house I grew up in. Like we knew everybody, you know, that lived around there because it's a pretty rural area. You know, everyone kind of knows each other around there. Um, and just that, like, you know, call her straight to voicemail, call my stepdad straight to voicemail. They still had a landline, call that, rings and rings and rings. Answering machine, because they still had one of those, you know, answering machine picks up. You know, and I went to the Canton Repository, is the newspaper down there. And I went, like, you know, cantonrep.com and, like, opens to a picture of, like, my childhood home with Stark County Sheriff deputies' cars and Ohio BCI trucks and all that stuff, and it said like, you know, double homicide in Lake Township or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects of it that looking back on, it's like just a terrible, you know, movie. You know, and it's the type of thing that like you see on the news. You know, you're like, this doesn't happen to me or to anybody I know.
Right. Yeah.
You
I
know
mean,
what I
it
mean?
truly was something that was like something you see in the movies, like, or like, you know, for lack of something you see in the news that you think, oh, that sucks for that person, and you
Sure.
really have no connection to it. But when it happens to you, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you know, before it was something that obviously experiencing it firsthand. When you see it on the news, for example, you are always like, you know, your sympathy or your empathy, you know, pick one, you know, goes to the person that was killed. And having gone through it, my first thought now are all of the people in their life that are still here,
Hmm.
that and the journey that they're about to go on in. Yeah, I don't. I think so much less of the person, and not, you know, not that I don't, not for any real. I don't know. It's not that I don't think or don't feel bad for the person who has been killed, but yeah,
Right.
I'm just like, oh, that person's like siblings, kids, whoever, you know. Uh, yeah, that's who I think about it at this point.
Well,
But
that's how the suffering continues. You know what I mean? Like, whether or not the recently deceased, they're no longer suffering, which is something you can take some sort of solace in, but you know that there's other suffering happening that will continue to suffer for the rest of their lives. Like,
yeah, forever,
yeah,
forever. You know, I have my life for 35 years up to the moment that I found out, and my life since then is it to in my view of things, they're two completely different
yeah.
worlds.
How could they not be? Like, that is a earth-shattering event when, and just the, you know, anytime your parents pass away, it's an earth-shattering event. But to have it happen the way it happened, I can't imagine the amount of like anger over the fact that like how much time this person has stolen from you uh
Yeah,
with your parents.
Sure.
So that part's like, that's just a different element of it, because usually when somebody has a loved one pass away, you're upset over the fact that, yeah, they're no longer here and the time you could still have with them or whatever, but you don't have anyone really to blame on it. And to
Hmm.
have a person in the face that, like, to have that is gotta be tough, uh, I guess, like the best way I guess I could explain it is that, like, you you should some people should be thankful that their loved one lost their lives to cancer. Like, at least
Yeah.
you have had that amount of time with them, and, they're no longer suffering, and,
Sure.
uh, you don't have anybody to feel hate over.
Yeah. Yeah. My big
And
thing has been not so much. I said this in court. I said this at their funeral. I got to have 35 years with them, right? Like,
Mhm,
it's my kids in it's my kids that I feel bad for. It's them that I feel bad for. Um, it's I had step siblings with kids. Um, my stepsister's quite a bit older, and she had daughters who have had kids. So, like, my mom and stepdad were great grandparents.
mm,
So they had all of these kids to to spoil and love on and be a part of their lives for the next, at least 20 or so years, you would think.
mhm.
Um, and the fact that they were all robbed of that, like my mom was the best mom, but she was somehow an even better grandma. You know what I mean? So the fact that, like, she was robbed of that and my kids were, uh, robbed of the future with them, that's the part that's like the toughest and really has been from the beginning. Um, to begin to be with them the day before and then have to, like, sit my kids down 3 days later because we wanted to wait a couple days at least and be like, yeah, grandma and papa are no longer here, and
Mhm.
I will never, as long as I live, forget the screams that came from my kids.
Mm.
Like, that's been the part that's been the hardest part for
Mm.
me. And then, yeah, you go to court and, like, I've been within 3 to 5 feet of this dude repeatedly. You know,
Yeah,
making.
I wasn't sure if you sat in on most of the trial, or were you just there for the sentencing?
I went to every second of the trial for my parents, and then for the three other women, I was there at the beginning. I was there at the end. Then the Ohio Supreme Court threw everything out, and they had to do that whole trial again from scratch as though he was just arrested, which is kind of cruel and unusual punishment for the father of the two girls that he murdered because he got to relive that a second time.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went back for that, and then I had planned to stay the whole entire time. And at the second one, we were to a point where every single person that was coming in is from out of town. Like, the girl's dad moved away because he couldn't live in Cleveland anymore. I lived down here. He had friends and family all over the country that was coming in for this stuff. And when you go to something like that, it's just like when you go to court for, like, a traffic ticket or whatever, where they're like, "You got to be here at 8 o'clock," and the judge just fucking walks in at 10, and then, like, we hit lunch break at 11:30, and then we come back at 1, and then by 3 o'clock they're like, "Well, I got to wrap this up. We'll see everybody tomorrow." Uh, so it's like that even on a homicide trial, and
It's wild.
we had three judges, so you have to deal with three egomaniacs, and
Right.
on the third day, the one woman called all the attorneys up before court started and, like, had this little powwow with them. And when we broke for lunch, the prosecution called us over and we're like, "Hey, so the one judge told us she's not going to be here the rest of the week, and I lost my fucking mind.
I bet.
And I just started yelling at everybody. It was like, I'm not going back in that room because I'm going to go to jail. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to go back to Georgia. Like, I feel bad that I'm not going to be here for the rest of this and not here to support you. But if I go in there, I'm going to jail. Because I'm going to absolutely flip out on this piece of shit lady who, like, has known this is coming forever. And this isn't not an emergency. This isn't like, this is just like, yeah, I'm going to go do some stuff I want to do. I'm just going to, like, take some time off, or I'm going to, you know, they had people testifying, doctors testifying for the defense that were here from Sweden, maybe somewhere in Scandinavia, and it was like, oh, you're just gonna like keep these fucking people around here too? What are you doing? You know?
Right.
And so I didn't stick around for the rest of that one because they ended up they finished that day and then delayed it for like a month or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. I'm already up here right now where it was the very end of school for the kids. And I was like, I'm missing like, you know, school graduations and choir concerts and, you know, I pride myself on being a dad that's like at stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was missing all these things, and like Kelly's having to try and get 3 kids different places at one time, you know. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to drive back to Georgia. And so luckily Josh and some other folks kind of talked me out of it, instantly getting in the car and driving, so I was so mad, which I appreciate. But I got up super early the next morning and drove straight back, and that was it. But yeah, I went to as much, you know, again, I went to all of the stuff with my parents. You know, we were talking earlier on about making decisions about not learning different things because, you know, it's going to so negatively impact your life. You know, my brother didn't go to any of the trial stuff because he was like, I know that if I could ask mom, if I, you know, like, do you want me to be here? Because I think it's going to ruin my life even more. She would tell me, yeah, don't come. So he didn't go to anything, which I took totally fine. But I felt like I needed to be there for every minute as like an advocate of some kind, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I wasn't, but ultimately my parents are like, I wanted to speak before his sentencing. And I remember them telling me, you know, the judges would really appreciate it if you know, if you kept it short. And I was like, oh, there's not a fucking chance.
Right.
I've written this in my head every day for like 3 years. I'm gonna say every single word. I want him to know about like having to tell my kids. I want him to know about me finding out. I want to know, like, I want him to hear all this shit while he's 24 inches away from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being that close is a whole other thing. I was like, I don't want to go on Good Morning America, and I don't want to end up on my claim to fame being the dude on, like, you know, when Spike TV runs like world's craziest court scene outbreaks or outbursts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm gonna end up on one of those. I don't want to end up on one of those shows. So,
Which is funny to hear that the fact that you seemed like you wanted to attack the judges more often than you did the guy who murdered your parents.
yeah, that lady in Cleveland, who I know is still a judge, like I would actively campaign against her if someone invited me to. It was just the most disrespectful shit. You know, I also have like massive beef with the law enforcement in the Canton area in Stark County. To this day, I've never spoken to a cop. I've never gotten a phone call to tell me that they were dead. Neither's my brother. We couldn't get them to stop holding press conferences without like telling us what they were going to discuss first. I found out how they were murdered on Twitter. So yeah, I have a lot of issues. I don't know. I already have issues with the system.
Right. Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
been
how weird is it?
exasperated, you know.
Yeah, how weird is it for the cops to mismanage these types of things? It's so
Yeah,
weird.
truly shocking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, truly shocking.
Protect and serve my asshole.
Well, you know, I think in a place like Canton, they love they want the fame and the TV time and the camera time and the like, you know, look at us solving crimes, look at us. You know, I think the sheriff. I mean, same thing. Like if someone called me and was like, "Hey, will you help? I'm running against this guy." Yeah, sure. What can I do to help? Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was talking to the other day to somebody about how like the police force is such like the worst, scummiest part of capitalism. Of the fact that like they will use situations like that to capitalize on getting more money for their police forces, to getting people promoted, getting people elected, like,
Yep.
and then this is just another way for them to propagate, like, look how good we are. We did this thing, even though we did it in the least sensitive way possible, and we gave zero closure and did nothing to serve the community in which that like actually pays my bills.
Yep. 100%. You know,
And
my stepbrother was who found my mom and his dad, and you know, at one point, one of my aunts went to the sheriff's department to like just sort of bitch about their lack of communication with my brother and I. And they're like, "Oh, we didn't know that they existed." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I've seen like just go based on like television shows and movies you've seen. When they start interrogating someone, they start asking about like family.
right, they're
You know,
usually the first suspects.
correct. So I called my stepbrother. And I was like, "Jay, this is what you know." They said they didn't know that Brant and I existed, and he was like, "Todd, it's literally the second question that they asked me." And I gave them your phone numbers. And I was like, I know.
Right.
I just needed to hear it from you. But I assumed. But yeah, they were just so focused on getting in front of TV cameras because it would get this, huge sensationalized thing.
Yeah, because
That
it involved two different police
it's
systems.
two different it's two different counties. It's the
Yeah.
FBI was involved. Like the FBI was already looking for him. They just didn't know. Like he had, he'd fled to my parents' house.
Mm,
And same thing, like they didn't put any information out because they didn't want him to know that they were looking for him and take off, right?
right.
Well, if they put any information out, my parents don't go home. And my parents were almost sort of the trap. Yeah, they were the bait in the trap. I mean.
Mm,
So that's a whole other piece to you try and kind of reconcile and yeah, it's fucking it's
did
definitely
the national news still covered it though? You
oh
think?
yeah, it was on I had a cousin whose family was on vacation in Greece. They saw it on the news over there.
Wow.
My family I know in Florida saw it on the news there. Um, it has its own like Wikipedia page. I don't
Of
know who
course it
made
does.
it, but uh, people have done a podcast about it.
I was gonna say it's probably a podcast who made it.
There's a podcast about it. There's I think she was on like 2020 when we were kids, but there's a journalist, I guess you would call her, Paula Zahn.
Mm,
She has like a show on Discovery Channel where they like reenact horrifying murders, and they have tried to get us to allow them to like make the show for I don't know, 5 years. No, that's weird.
yeah.
You know, and I've had plenty of people be like, "Oh, well, what if they're going to give you a bunch of money?" I would love for someone to give me a bunch of money, but not for that.
Right.
Seems a little
capitalistic.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the right
Yeah.
decision to make, you know? Yeah, such a bizarre thing to live through. And I
Yeah.
mean, it still is every day, you know? It's not like I don't constantly pick up my phone to like text my mom. I
Hmm.
do. You know, it's been 8 years now, and I do, you know, almost daily. Or you know, I'll be in the grocery store and like a James Taylor song will come on. He was her favorite musician, and there I am, like standing in the hot dog aisle of Publix. Sir, are you okay? Yeah. But yeah, it's just something you end up living with for forever, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, it's that's I think what we touched on earlier, like that's where the suffering is. Like, and he needed to hear that part. That's the punishment. Because
For
now
sure.
you need to hear it from the people who you affected with those decisions and the crimes that you did and the murders that you did. You have to hear it from those families because now you're gonna have to spend the rest of your time in jail trying not to think about that. That's the punishment.
Right. Well, and
That's how you serve your time.
he was so different. Um, the way that he was at my parents' trial and the way that he was at the trial for the three women was totally different. He was
Wow.
he was pretty unsettling and would look back and smirk and do different things like that during the trial for the women. And at my parents' trial, he was just like, "No, I want to die. Those people were nothing but good to me." On and on, you know. And it was like,
Wild.
yeah, I don't think he had any intention of actually killing them, but you know, he was there to take care of their very elderly dog, and he did not take care of the dog. And when my parents walked in the house, the dog could no longer stand up and it's in very rough shape. And my mom, understandably, like flipped out, and he instantly pulled out a gun and forced him upstairs. And you know, but if you look at his like course of conduct through both days, he had a million chances to just stop and walk out. Like if I really dove into like all the details of what happened with the over and over and over and over and over, he could have just like stopped and walked out. But he compounded his decisions, right? And so same thing like with my
Right.
parents. Like my parents were able to get upstairs and into a bedroom and get the door locked. And then he decided to go up and shot the door handle off and went in after him. You know what I mean? Like just kept going and
Yeah.
going and going. So
Brutal. Well, I actually never really. I don't know if I've ever asked. What was the relation between that guy and your parents, or
yeah, so he uh, dated my stepsister and then was later engaged to her for a long time.
Mhm.
I mean, like I've been on vacation with this dude. I spent holidays with this dude. Yeah, he started coming around 2001. Like I think I was still at Bowling Green, going to school when he started like coming around.
Hmm.
Um, you know, like to make this even more depressing. You know, my brother's fiance died of cancer a year and a half before this happened to our parents.
Mhm.
And this dude made my brother the most thoughtful gift. To the point that, like, my brother was like, we weren't close to this guy. He was just like the dude that dated our stepsister,
Right.
you know? So my brother certainly didn't expect this guy to make this handmade gift that he put all this time and effort and thought and stuff into. And I remember him being like, man, you won't believe like what George made for me. And me being like, no, I don't believe that. That's crazy. What a wonderful gesture.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also, my stepdad owned his own company, and this guy like ran one of the warehouses for him, and went to work the morning, like he killed my parents on a Sunday evening, and went to work Monday morning. And my stepbrother had just taken over running the company, so he calls us. He's like, "Hey, like, did my dad and Bobby come home last night?" Oh yeah, I hope and carry their bags in.
Is
I'm
that
sure
what he
they're just
said?
yeah.
Holy shit.
And then he spent 15 minutes crying about how someone murdered his friend and her two daughters, and how the girls were like daughters to him. And so my stepbrother's like consoling him on the phone. And so then when my stepbrother was done with work that day, he drove to our parents' house, cars in the driveway. Like he had a key to get in, goes in. Their bags are still sitting there in front of the stairs. He was like calling out for him. Doesn't get an answer, goes upstairs, sees that the door handle shut off, goes in the room, and the weirdest thing that this dude did, all five of them, is he covered them all with a blanket after the fact. So my stepbrother goes in the room, and his dad's on the ground, and like just his foot's hanging out of his blanket, and my mom is in the bed, and her arm is hanging over the side, out of the blanket, and he turns around and calls 911. The only thing I've never done is listen to his 911 call. I know everything and every detail about everything, but I've never brought myself to listen to that phone call. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think part of it being my stepbrother's a real kind of stoic, unflappable dude.
Yeah, when something happens to those types of people, it really shakes you to your core.
Yeah. And he told, I mean, I know others that have listened to it that were like, yeah, he sounded like he saw a ghost, you know? I'm like, yeah, I don't need to hear that.
Yeah. Does your does your brother-in-law still run that company, or what do you end up doing with that?
He kept it going for a little while. And then no, he like bought a farm in central Ohio, and he and his wife moved to this farm and had a couple kids. He went back to school to become an electrician, so he just runs this farm and does electrician gas stuff.
Put it all behind him, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was just I don't know. You know, it's like when my brother's fiance died. Like he just had to get out of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think with my stepbrother, it was like I just have to get to a different area. You know, I mean, I know when I come back to Ohio, like, you know, I often drive because I'm a lunatic. Just very stupid, actually. I'm like, well, it'll probably save me $50. Oh, my 11-hour drive's gonna end up somehow taking 17. Well, at least I'll have saved $50.
Right.
But I'll I cross that bridge over the Ohio River coming into Cincinnati, and like my mood pretty quickly changes. You know,
Well,
there's just
I could.
something about being there that's rough.
Yeah, I think most. I guess I don't know. Most people have that feeling, regardless, when they're back in Ohio. I feel like it's.
I was gonna say, I think even people with no connection to Ohio sometimes come in and they go, "Oh, this
Yeah.
feels
It's a,
different here."
Yeah, there's a darkness, an intangible darkness around this state. Uh,
Florida with snow. Is that you?
right. It's even worse now that we're just a straight up red state.
Yeah, you ready for Vivek? You ready for your new governor, Vivek?
Can't wait. It's
That's all right.
not gonna be no
Daddy,
different than anyone else.
Daddy Don, the whole Antifa ruling tonight. You'll be probably in jail before the next election.
The fact my father hasn't turned me in as Antifa at this point is crazy to me.
That's right.
When we lived together for that couple of months, we had a lot of discussions to a point where like I was running late to things because you know how him and I could be just like arguing back and forth. And to be honest with you, having gone from a relationship or in a home where nothing got talked about to now being in a house with my parents where we just talk about everything was so refreshing. Like even the arguments, I was like,
Even
I
just
wouldn't.
arguing, yeah.
Yeah, even the arguments we had over politics, like I was like, honestly, I told him straight up, I was like, this is preferable than sitting in my house with my ex-wife in
In
silence.
silence, yeah.
Yeah. And just like you can just feel the resentment between the two of us. That's
Right.
all that was in that room was resentment. And at least you and I are like hashing it out, you know, like
Sure.
or I have to like show up late to something. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like I was I was solving the economy with my father. So,
I feel like at this point, if I was in your shoes, I'd have a real hard time like not looking at. And I love your parents a lot.
right.
I think I'd have a hard time looking at them and not just being like, you two are like the biggest fucking sellouts. Like Lebanese woman and indigenous native man.
Mm-hmm. They don't like you.
What are the two of you do? Yeah,
Right.
they especially don't like you.
Right. Like at two
They
different times in history, both sides of my family was considered a terrorist organization.
Yeah, wow. We're I mean, we're bombing. We're supporting bombing of Lebanon.
Currently. Yeah.
There were 4 Americans killed in a bombing in Lebanon yesterday.
Right. I love letting. I figured out a way to let my dad talk and ask him questions, and because I know his morals and his political beliefs, they're
Are two different.
constantly,
Yeah.
yeah, they're constantly butting heads with each other. So all I got to do is ask him questions, and then watch him talk himself into socialist beliefs. It's really funny to watch sometimes.
I believe it. I've thought about it so often. Like Rhodes was asking me earlier about the podcast, and
Mm.
what's it called? And I told him, and he was like, "So he was homeschooled?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, is he weird?" And I was like, "Well, I think the point is that like we're all a little weird,
Right.
But yes, perhaps it was made worse by homeschooling. But so I started telling him sort of about your family, and he like looked at me at one point, and he didn't know what to say, but he was like confused.
I'm gonna join the group. Jesus Christ.
His dad's the only one of the family like that made it off the reservation. Yeah, and they're like really religious and like into Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother.
Well, it's funny now. My cousin Jordan, he has now lived in Arizona for like the last 5 years. So so that's the new record. He's the first person to make it off the reservation in it's pretty much since my father.
Yeah, since your dad, basically.
Yeah. And then my Uncle Chaman passed away 2 years ago now. And man, what a wild way to go. Because like he died in the most like stereotypical native way possible. He won $600 at the casino and had a massive heart attack. So he it was like when we found out what happened, my dad and I both laughed. Like it was like so funny to hear how it went down. Like he got so excited over winning $600 and then going to the bar that it caused a massive heart attack. And what a purely reservation way to go, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't make that up.
No, it's fucking so funny. And
He's your uncle that came to Cleveland the one time with one of your cousins, correct?
yeah. He used to come to Cleveland pretty frequently,
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say
every
I
other
feel
year.
like I've met him. I feel like I had gotten him.
Yeah, he was like 6'11",
Yeah, giant.
giant man, huge individual. It took 11 of us to carry his casket. His casket was massive.
That's unbelievable.
He was such a massive individual. But it was so funny because like I hadn't been to a native funeral since I was a kid, so I've forgotten what happens, like, so we're doing the traditional native thing up the hill at sunrise and everyone's beating drums and singing songs or whatever, and then you coat yourself with like the sage over your head to ward off death or whatever. And then you get up the hill to the Catholic Church and everything just stops. Everyone puts all their Native American shit into their cars. We go make them right with white Jesus. We get them the fuck out of there. One of my favorite, I will say that one of my favorite moments of that time though was I asked my Uncle Brady, like, why do we bother going to the church? Because he wasn't religious, like, so why did we even bother going to the church? And he says the same reason why natives have casinos on the reservation. He's like, natives know how to hedge a bet. Those guys, like,
Just covering every base.
yeah, that's one thing I will say that I am very thankful for when it comes to my family, that like, even when sad things happen, we always seem to find the punchline. It's like, what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what,
that's always does. I'm glad that you said that because I feel like in all of the stories, since I've known you, you've lost a lot of
yeah,
aunts and uncles and folks like that. But I don't think there's a single story where there's not some sort of like punchline in it.
hmm
And there's something to be said for that. I know just even in the days after losing my parents, like being at the Clifton house, I don't remember what it. We were sitting outside, like in the backyard or something, around a fire,
uh-huh.
and somebody was going inside, and I asked them to bring me something, and then I followed it up with like, "You don't want me to be like sad, right?"
Your camera went out.
Oh, that's weird.
Sure. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Fangled technology.
Yeah,
Well,
like you don't
there
want
was
me to be depressed, right? And they're like, "Oh, fuck you, man. That's terrible." Well, if we're not laughing, like I need to have some sort of laughter or joy.
yeah, there was one point where you made a joke about like uh somebody was complaining about something, or like somebody was just like, it was such a like light funny thing that they were complaining about, and you're like, yeah, well, my parents just died. Like,
Yeah,
like you're like, I
you
had to
know.
play the card.
Well, I think in those sort of moments too, with like the people that you feel closest to or feel the most love with or whatever, like sometimes it's making comments like that just to try and make them laugh, because no one
Yeah.
knows what to say to you, because there is nothing to say to you, like either I'm sorry or I love you. Either
Right.
one is the only thing you can say, and both are very sufficient. I appreciate every time that I've ever heard it.
Oh my
But I
God.
think
I
some
wish.
folks feel like there's something more that they need to come up with. That like they're going to hit you with some sort of profound piece of advice or whatever, you know. So I think I just hit a point too, where probably looking at all of you, where it was like, yeah, I don't know, I've got to like break some of that up, so people just understand like just being together right now is more help than I could ever ask for.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I think sometimes I don't know about you. I can really speak for you, but sometimes I get uncomfortable with the sadness,
Yeah.
and then it just sits in this sadness, and like so my way of coping with the uncomfortableness is to make jokes. Like
Sure.
it's a coping mechanism. I know it, but it does get me in trouble sometimes. Like
Well,
I wish you
to
were
go.
I wish you were there when my friend, his wife had passed away from lung cancer, and we're like in the parking lot, just like kind of like hanging out in the parking lot during like the wake. And I was like, I know this sucks now, but imagine how late this is going to get you in the future. And he laughed really hard at that. And I'm like thankful that he laughed because he thought it was funny. But like everyone else around me looked at me like I had just kicked a puppy. So,
Right.
like they couldn't believe I had said that. And I'm like, I don't understand how you can't believe I said that. Like that's crazier to me. Like, I s- you should just be thankful I didn't say it in the room with the body.
Yeah.
Like
Right. In
I
front of
wait
her
till we all
parents.
right. Like I wait till we all got out to the park.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's drinking and smoking weed, and so I made a distasteful joke. What are you gonna do?
Well, and I think the fact that he laughed, that's all that, you know, his reaction's the only one that matters.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. But man, did it take like it's still something that people bring up as like a negative towards me, especially with that group of people. Like how big of an asshole I was during that time or something like that. And I was like, I didn't think I was being an asshole at all. Like I was trying to make my friend laugh, and I didn't want to go into the room when she was passing because she didn't need me there.
Sure.
She
Yeah.
had her mom, she had her dad, she had both her husband's parents there. Her husband was there. Uh, my wife at the time, she was in there. So like when I'm then I don't need to be in that room. I'm taking space away from somebody else not being in there by being in there. And I didn't want that to be my last memory of her. My
Sure.
last memory of her was of her kicking my ass in Texas Hold'em and really rubbing my nose into it because I was such an asshole up until that point. Like I really deserved the verbal lashing I got.
Yeah.
And like I was such a funny, fun moment in my head, and I wanted to preserve that as being my last memory of her. So, and then for some reason, everyone thinks I'm such a dick for not going into that room. I'm like, I still don't regret it. I really don't.
No, I think again, like, I guess if it's something that your friend had an issue with and you and him want to talk about it, fine. But everybody else, I don't know.
Well,
Death is obviously this.
that's usually the people who take problems with that shit anyways, is usually the people who aren't like involved or don't have like really any connection to it. It's like almost like they're speaking up for the other person, even though like, yeah, my friend did not seem to mind that I didn't go to the room. He kind of understood it. Like,
Well, and how long ago was this?
probably 5 years ago now.
Right. And so whose life is any different or altered in some sort of negative way because you didn't go in the room? Nobody. You made a decision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think in situations like that, in particular, you're allowed to be. It's like people having an issue, like with my brother not going to court stuff, right? You don't get to make that decision for somebody. Like it's not him being selfish.
Right.
This wasn't you being selfish.
Right.
You're making a decision where there's some benefit for yourself, which you're allowed to have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have memories of a person that you want to keep a certain way, and there's people that do that with their parents or with siblings or whatever when they're done. I can't go into that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my last memories of that person to be what they look like now, or that's the thing people do constantly.
Yeah, I mean, my Uncle Rick just lost his sister Paula, and which is his only living family. So there's nobody left in his own family other than his kids and his wife. So he was like telling me how thankful he was that she passed in the night, like while they were home. She was in bed sleeping. She just went, and he was like, I was like, I was so thankful that's how that went, and no one was around, no one was, you know what I mean, and sometimes I think about that, like, I watched my Uncle Bob pass. I'm like, I hate that. I hate that memory. I hate that memory.
Sure.
And having to sit there with the corpse for hours waiting for the priest to show up to give last rites and everything is like, and then he went on way too long. It's like, man, we've been here for 5 hours with a dead body. Like, let's just, can we please go? Like, like, I hate to be so callous about it, but it's like, this sucks. Like, and then having to,
Good.
they have to constantly go, like, look back at a corpse where like the person you once loved is no longer there. You know, uh, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I not too long. Within I don't know, within the first couple of days after my parents had died, my brother said to me, this might sound terrible to you, but if there's a silver lining in all of this, we don't have to watch them get old and get sick and wither away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I hate to even use the term silver lining. And he was like, yeah, he's like, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
I've thought about that so many times in the last 8 years, and I think he's 100% correct. Knowing what so many friends have gone through since, will go through. Now, granted, would I have wanted to have another 5, 10, 15, 20 years with them? Yes, I would trade anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's something to be said for not having to watch them go through any of that.
I think anybody who has that kind of like outlook or mentality, like that's the healthy way to approach these things, or like search for, okay, where can I find comfort in knowing, and even in the worst situations, where can I find my comfort in it? And where can I find, again, like I'm with you. I don't like the term silver lining, but I don't know what other term to put there like like, I guess, peace of mind, knowing that, like, yeah, you don't have to watch them get old and wither. I think that's just such a wonderful way to take a look at it. Like, I know this is to a lesser extent, but what happened with my marriage in like at the end of it all, and how everything played itself out. Like there was a part of me that was kind of thankful for as hard as it was to go through it. I was thankful the way it went down because now I don't have to look back at it and go coulda, woulda, shoulda. I I was so vulnerable and so insecure that it literally would have taken just the smallest thing for me to have crumbled and given in and went back to a situation I know that was really unhealthy and wasn't going anywhere and wasn't going to get any healthier. Uh, and those are the things you got to look for in life. Like you got to look for those, I guess, small victories or whatever it is. I really don't know how to put it into context, or like trying to find those little like
I think,
nuggets of
yeah, I think small
comfort.
victory works all right, you know? Or yeah, there you go, nugget of comfort.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think with my brother, his big thing was having just watched, the person that he would have planned to spend the rest of his life with. You know, she was given like 6 weeks to live, lived a year and a half,
Mhm.
but you know, to make this even more fucking ridiculous. Actually, I don't know why I'm chuckling, but like, so she also died on Christmas, right? Like
Yeah.
Hallmark, just like fucking horseshit.
Yeah. And your brother and you both really do love Christmas.
Oh, it was like, yeah, because of my mom, that was like, it was a big thing. And so I remember saying to
Yeah.
my brother after she had died, like something like just assuming like, this is gonna ruin Christmas for you forever or whatever.
Mhm.
And you should have my brother on this podcast instead of me. He's got way more good shit to say. But he was like, no, this was actually like the best. Her not suffering anymore is the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
And so, like, yes, every Christmas will I think about the fact that like she died on Christmas and have some sadness with that, of course. But this is the best thing that could have happened for her. Like she wasn't coming back. There was never any chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to know that I was able to like say goodbye to her on Christmas is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Made me like, man, you sure you're not the older brother?
So, yeah, it's so funny. Like you and I used to have a very similar relationship that my brother and I used to have, where like
Yeah,
it was just such different yet the same personalities, that kind of just like rubbed each other the wrong way, I guess. But like I guess through over time and all the circumstances, you two have had, uh, you've got through these things, you've been able to bond through it all and find the really great aspects of each other.
for
And
sure.
I think, you know, that's one thing I can say about my brother as of late. Like him and I have definitely have had our issues in the past, but like, I think recently we've found a way to like find ways to respect one another, and through, just through circumstances. Like, my marriage is ended and his start, he just got engaged and, uh, I forget what he said, but he said something along the lines like, I was worried that you would find it to be like a slight or something like that because of the timing of it all. And I was like, that's very sweet of you to think,
Yeah,
and it's very caring of you to even bring it up. but it wasn't. And like, I would have taken it as that. But, you know, the fact that he had that thought was very sweet.
Yeah, I would say that that's a giant step, from where things were like 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
A pretty giant step in a good
Or
direction.
even 6 years ago when he,
Yeah, sure.
at my wedding, tried to tell my wife at the, when the ink on the marriage license wasn't even dry yet, he's trying to tell her I'm cheating on her. You never heard about that?
No.
So my brother says this to her in front of like her mom and dad, my mom and dad, my sister, some of the boys were in the room. Like, my brother is drunk at this point, like pretty hammered, and says that. And she was like, the thing that made me mad wasn't the fact, she's like, I knew it wasn't true, but what made me mad is he said it in front of like my
Yeah,
new family,
right,
essentially.
right.
And that was the part that made her mad. And so the person who was officiated the wedding was my friend Vinny, and Vinny was one of my closest friends. And so she said something to him. He's like, obviously, it's not true. Like, Josh was an idiot. And as like a way of, I don't know, proving it to her or consoling her in some way, they decided to do a blood oath. And so all Vinny has is this like little like Swiss Army blade, like the one that like the red
Hmm.
knife, and like pulls it out. And so he pulls it out, and she cuts him this nice little cut, and then he proceeds to just annihilate her hand. He cuts through like this part of the hand down to like the middle of it, and cuts through like nerves and tendons and everything. Like, he was like literally like so close to like where he's like, may have had to amputate fingers had he gone any further. And so she had to have like reconstructive surgery on her hand. She got rushed to the hospital. This is the night of
What?
the wedding. Yeah, night of the wedding, she gets rushed to the hospital. I have no idea what was going on. Had not like, obviously I didn't know what's happening. I was trying to get beers for us at the bar while this is all going on. And so that happens. Our friend Eric, who doesn't drink, like basically throws her into a car and drives her to the hospital. But nobody knows what hospital they're going to. He just said, I'm taking you to the hospital. So now everyone's yelling at me, telling me different stories of what happened. Like, she fell and cut her hand. She had she went to go pick up a broken glass bottle and it sliced her open. Like, everybody had a different story of what happened. And so I was like, okay, well, what hospital did she go to? They're like, we don't know, but you need to leave now. You need to go find her at the hospital. I was like, that's fine. I'm more than happy to go to the hospital. But what the hospital am I going to?
Yeah,
And no one had an answer.
one of the things Cleveland is known for is its many hospitals.
Yeah, that's like the only thing we've got going for us. We have
Yeah, just
so many
about.
hospitals.
Right.
And like, so I'm not gonna go hospital like hopping looking for like.
Yeah.
I was like, here's
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
Excuse me. Anyone see my wife? I've heard she was stabbed.
Yeah, yeah. Has anybody seen anybody in a wedding gown
Looking for my
bleeding
bride.
profusely? Yeah, yeah, and that's gonna look great for me. So I was like, all
So
right, I'm going. I went home. I walked home. I was like, I'm gonna go home. She's gonna call me. She's gonna tell me where she's at, what's going on, and I'll see all of you in the morning. So I walked home, waited for the phone call, and then she wanted to go back to the bar. She wanted to go back to the bar, and I'm like, it's 3:30 in the morning. Like, there's no
yeah,
bar to go
ship has
to.
sailed.
Right? Yeah. It was about 2 a.m. probably when that happened. So the fact that she thought like, oh, okay, we'll get this handled Then I can go back to the bar.
Get my hand put back together.
Yeah.
So
And
was this an accidental thing, or did like
no, Vinny did it on accident. Yeah, he didn't meet. It was such a dull blade that I was like, he was
put a
drunk.
bunch of pressure? And,
Yep, really sliced her open. So,
well, at least you
but
guys both had weird stories about not, putting a knife through your hand.
yeah, that's true. That's true. We both have weird knife incidences. Mine's a little bit more self-inflicted than hers. But
If Kelly or I say Jeremy, and one of the kids goes, "Who?" We say the guy who stabbed through his hand opening the pack of, and they'll like cut us off and be like, "Oh, the veggie dog."
yeah, and I
But
got the
all of
tattoo,
my
but like,
kids,
look,
I
it's
know,
already it's
dude.
already pretty much worn off. So I got to go get it redone. It's like
I
you can
I
still
thought
kind
that
of
was a
see it.
dream. I thought it was a dream, and then I realized I still had the picture later, and I was like, "That son of a bitch really did that."
Yeah, I think I
That
might
sounds
have her
awful.
go over it with just block letters. That's his dumb idea.
Oh man, but yeah, kids definitely know you as. Oh yeah, him,
The butter knife guy.
guy with the butter knife. Yeah.
Yep,
Well, because I think every single one of them, when they were little and starting to use a butter, our frame of
that's right.
reference on telling them how to be safe is we have our friend Jeremy put a butter knife through the palm of his hand,
13 stitches.
opening a pack of veggies.
Yep, and then you got infected because I like refused to stop playing guitar. Idiot! What an idiot! Oh my god! I remember we played like a show like a week or two later, and I decided I'm playing the show, and my hand was in so much pain, and my mom had given me like some sort of muscle relaxer, and I had drinking one beer with it, and man, did that fuck me up. Like I just remember the whole stage feeling like it was like swaying, like I was on a
Ugh.
boat or something.
Well, at least you didn't go back to like the house and piss in the refrigerator.
Like Nick.
Yeah,
Oh my god, yeah. Hold on. Keep Fresh sent me something.
it's
It may
probably
have
a
actually.
it's probably a story of. He was trying to get me. He was trying to convince me to allow him to make up a lie of a story for me to tell on the podcast.
Oh yeah, he goes, when you talk to Todd tonight, will you please ask him how he gets kidney stones all the time? He'll know immediately that I instigated it.
Yeah, no, this is yeah. No, I figured it would either be that or it was going to be like ask him about this thing that I've completely made up.
Yeah.
Because yeah, he texted me out of the blue like later in the evening. He's like, "Hey, do you want me to make up a lie for you to tell on the podcast?" I'm like, you're a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, you've got an interesting enough life. Uh, what's I'm conflicted between two things.
All right.
Let's talk. Well, let's talk about the kids and how do you feel like because you have the oldest children of I think of anybody that I know.
Yeah.
So, uh, how do you feel like your childhood, where you grew up, compares to where it like this? I guess the circumstances around their upbringing and where they grew up. Do you feel like because I had a realization recently that like when we were growing up, we learned fire drills.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We learned how to, stand up, get in a single file and walk out, blah, blah, blah. But kids today, they don't really learn that as much as they learn fire, like shooting drills.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
school shooting drills is like a huge thing now that every
Mm-hmm.
kid has to go through.
Yep.
So beyond that, like, I guess like you feel like the community in which you live in is significantly different than the community
Oh
you grew
yeah.
up in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, despite the fact that I live in the South and that I live in Georgia.
Well, to be fair, Ken thinks it's in the South.
Well, Kelly, I mean, when Kelly talks about where I grew up, she tells people I grew up in the South.
See,
Um,
point taken for me.
yeah, she's like, Stark County is the South. But no, where we live, so we live in Gwinnett County, which is sort of east and kind of northeast from Atlanta proper. We're like maybe 10 miles outside the city limits or something. Giant county, second largest county in the state by population. But just within the last like 2 or 3 years, Gwinnett County became a minority majority county. So, which as you can imagine in a state like Georgia, pretty massive deal.
Yeah.
You certainly have plenty of folks that not thrilled about, us white folks not being the dominant ones in the county anymore. But so, with my kids going to school, actually, Rhodes and Eloise and I were talking about this tonight. Their school is so diverse. For example, if they send out a newsletter each week, you can get the newsletter in a dozen different languages. My kids have friends who are, from a Southeast Asian background, from a Hispanic background. They just you name it. I joke with them all the time. But we used to, I used to go home from school, and if I was telling my parents a story about kids, Mary, Allison, Steve, my kids come home and they'll be like, so, I was hanging out with. I'm like, what's their name? What? One more time? We were talking tonight how wonderful it is that they are growing up in that sort of environment. Where I went to high school, I think there were 2 or 3 black kids.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in my class, probably not more than 10 in the whole high school. Obviously there were Asian kids, there were Indian kids, but it's totally different. In the best of ways. We were just talking this evening about what a positive thing that that they're going to grow up having seen and learned, different cultures. It's massively different.
Well, it's so weird to me that is one place in the South where I don't think it gets enough credit for its diversity. Like, it really, like the Atlanta area, I mean, obviously you know
it's
better
wild.
Than me, yeah, I haven't been there in probably 10 years now, something like that. But from what I remember, it was like, sucks to say this, but certain the black neighborhoods in Cleveland were considered the bad neighborhoods. I say that more as a perception than what it actually is. Sure. And but in Atlanta, because it's the black neighborhood, almost means the opposite. Where that's the nice neighborhood, where what I mean, like, and that was refreshing to see. Not only the fact that it also has one of the largest Asian communities.
The Korean community is massive.
Mm-hmm. The only place that per capita that I guess compares closely to it is Champaign, Illinois, of all
Okay.
places. It has a
Okay.
very large population of Koreans. Don't ask
Yeah,
me how
like
I know that.
the like little Korea, so to speak, in Atlanta is in the suburbs, and it's
Mhm.
starts maybe 3 miles up the road from us.
Mhm.
Um, it's massive,
Yeah,
but
it's
there are
funny
whole.
because around your neighborhood, I remember there being like the Korean uh lettering was bigger than the English lettering.
Yeah, 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 it's crazy. Yeah, because actually, when you were here, I think it was when we were at our old house, and it was basically in that part of town.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you can go over. You know, there's so Buford. It's called Buford Highway. It goes from in the city, you know, in Atlanta, to probably 20, 25, 30 miles north of where we are now. But there's a massive stretch, I'm sorry, where you have these plazas, and it's like every storefront is a there's like a Dominican barbershop, Mexican restaurant. Um, I don't know. It's getting late. I'm dropping like specifics, but it's whole plazas of different, immigrant owned and run businesses.
Yeah,
And it goes on for miles and miles and miles.
that's what I love about so much about that area, and it never gets its credit for that. It's baffling to me that I feel like Atlanta is one of those, or even the suburbs surrounding Atlanta has such a diverse culture that is, uh, I guess, well maintained is the best way to, I guess, I could put it. Is just like it does, because it's the more cultural diverse area. Doesn't mean it's the bad area. As a matter of fact, it's probably the better area to live in, which is very
Oh
refreshing
yeah,
to see.
yeah. No, it's very different. Again, the way that it stretches out into the suburbs, and I mean it's everywhere. But I think I just think most people think of the South and wouldn't even think that that could possibly be the case.
Yeah.
You know. Now you
I
get too far outside the city in any different direction, shit changes real quick.
Sure. Just
But
like anywhere, though.
the metro area is massive, and it's extremely diverse.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I might have to cut this out, but I had today. Uh, so I'm on dating apps again. I was on it, then I
Yeah.
got off of it. I'm back on it again, and today I got asked to essentially, not even essentially. This is what I got asked for was, will you marry me so I can achieve a green card?
Wow.
From an yeah, and like I really did consider it. Like I told them straight up, I was like, "You actually are talking like to the right person for once." Like, it's like I am half Arab, I'm half Native. I am not particularly like, I don't have a lot of. It's not that I don't love this country. I just don't have a lot of respect for it most of the time,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to the government or laws or whatever.
Oh,
Because
I
to
think
me,
yeah,
it's just like,
especially at this point. Oh yeah, I would love to help you do that.
right. But then I started reading up on it, and like this is how they've been busting people. So I just had to tell them like straight up, like, yeah, I'm not going to do this now because this is how. I don't know if you're an FBI agent or you're a part of ICE even, because this is how they've been literally like. There's all these articles of like this federal agent posed as a person on a dating website, ask this person to marry them for their green card so they can stay in the country for their kid or for their job or whatever, because their job won't sponsor them. Because that is true. Like a lot of companies today can choose whether or not to sponsor their employee, which is wild to me. But anyways, so I had to basically tell them like, hey, like I'm still down to like hang out and see where this goes, but the whole green card thing, like I'll do my best to try and help find you a job that'll sponsor you, but that's all I can do. And that's all I'm willing to do now. Because
Where were
like
they from?
India. But with them, because of how much of a hot topic that's been as of late, they're looking, actively looking for something that remotely looks what we were trying to do. And there would just be no way around it being figured out.
Yeah. Oh
So,
no, you're exactly right. There's a woman that I worked with down here who I've not worked with now. Oh, I don't know, probably 9 years, 8, 9 years. But her husband, when they had gotten married, he was just trying to make his, I think, green card permanent or something. But they got married like legitimately. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't just to help them out.
mm-hmm,
But she told me then that the amount of constant checkups and like weird tests and interviews and stuff that they pretty consistently had to go through because the government was so skeptical of the situation. And she was like, he's been in the States for long before we had ever, he's had like, he's had a green card. He's, this other stuff, but it
mm-hmm.
wasn't, it was like, it was always temporary. He was having to renew, we'll say it was that sort of a situation. So,
Yeah, that's what this
but
lady was saying. Is like, I haven't lived in India 15 years.
yes,
Like,
it was a similar situation, but
I don't know what it's like there.
right, right. Yeah. She was constantly having to go do these interviews with him. They interview them like separately, and they interview them together. They would, she was like, yeah, they're constantly trying to poke a hole in it. And if that's what they were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah, now they're got dirty with it, where they're like literally having federal agents pose as immigrants on dating websites, trying to bust U.S. citizens for helping people out with a green card. And I
We
mean,
live in
minimum.
the dumbest time.
Oh yeah, we truly do. And like the minimum sentence for that would be 3 years and $150,000 in fines. And I was like, I just lost $30,000 in a divorce.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
didn't even
looking
lose
to,
150 in a fake relationship.
yeah, a fake marriage.
Yeah,
So
that's outrageous, man.
yeah, it was kind of interesting. And I was like, and me, I probably would have done it had it been any other time.
Yeah, I think you probably would have.
Yeah, I
I
definitely would
certainly
have
wouldn't have. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have ever been surprised if you were like, "Hey, guess what?
married this
Married
broad.
married this lady so
Yeah,
she could get a green card."
yeah, and she's a
Yeah, that
great
wouldn't have
roommate.
surprised me at all. Yeah, yeah, it wouldn't have surprised me at all. No, I feel like I don't know. I sort of feel like everyone probably assumes that their generation is like the dumbest time to be alive. I don't know that anybody beats this shit. Right?
Well, the reason why I think that it was bullshit is because one, all of her photos are on her dating site are obviously taken from somebody else. It's not like any of them are like selfies. These are like professionally done photos.
Yeah, it's
Red
weird.
flag number one.
Yeah.
Red flag number two is that you just now said openly to a stranger, can you help me commit this crime? Like, she doesn't know me.
Right. Right.
And like
This.
immediately was steering the conversation to that. So that's
Yeah,
strike number 2.
that's pretty suspect.
Yeah, and then 3 was the fact that, like, she said she was looking for jobs, and then when I would say, like, "Oh, my dad works in that field," I'm sure he can find you a job. What seemed to lose interest quickly.
I
So
mean, it
I'm like,
almost sounds like maybe it's just a different kind of scam. You know, like,
yes,
do you get those text messages that will just be like some random number, like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, "Hey, want to go golfing?" I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah,
yeah."
or the like, you owe the IRS X amount of dollars.
I love those ones. I got one of those today, and it was like they sent a picture that said that. There was like
Hmm.
weird. There's just like typos and shit on it. You know, like,
Then it's
yeah,
got to be from the government. Actually,
yeah.
that's actually more believable.
That's probably somewhat true. I love getting the ones that because I still have an Ohio number because I have the same cell phone number for 25 years,
Yeah.
and so I get all the time like your Ohio driver's license is about to be suspended. Yeah, yeah, I haven't had one of those in 15 years. So, and I don't ever get Georgia. You know what I mean? I don't ever get that text that's like a Georgia.
Right.
It's just that my Ohio driver's license is about to
Hmm.
be suspended. Oh fuck! What am I gonna do?
Right. Send my credit card information. Might as well do it.
That's right. That's right. Can you send me an unsecure link so I could
Yeah.
I, would can we do just like a bank draft? Can I just give you the whole routing and account
God,
number?
I
You
hope
know?
my credit gets jacked here shortly. That would be the best thing to happen to
Yeah.
me. Oh, that stuff on Amazon that was bought, that wasn't me. My credit card information was jacked.
Uh yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm always trying to
I
scam the man as any way I can.
I hear you. I mean,
I haven't
you know,
stolen anything in over a year, though. That's not true. I haven't stolen anything in 6 months.
what was the last thing?
I stole the paper, or not the paper towel dispenser, the toilet paper holder in my bathroom from Lowe's or Home Depot or something. I just
Right.
walked out with it in my hand.
I love boy, that's like real adult shit. Like we used to joke like punks grow up.
Hmm.
That's a real punk grow up moment.
Yeah, yeah,
Still shoplifting, but it's just it's a toilet
yeah. I'm
paper
gonna
roll
use it.
holder. You
I
know,
use it
yeah.
every day.
This is something that I need for my home.
Hmm. And good luck trying to stop me from digging it, because I know
Yeah,
you can't stop me,
yeah, that's
and
true,
it's not
dude. There's
enough
certain
money to
ways.
prosecute. So
No. Are you gonna ban me from Lowe's?
yeah, it's the perfect crime.
Mm,
But then all those guys started. Actually, 3 of the employees at the Lowe's I used to steal a lot from. I mean, because when we bought our house, like I went on a straight like crime spree. It was insane what I was walking out with, and the guys. There was 3 guys that worked there that became stand-ups, and this is when I was doing that material about stealing from Lowe's and Home Depot and all that. And they're
that's
like,
so
"Yeah,
good.
that's my store." That I was like, "Well, I guess I got to stop doing this material."
That's so
Oh, it's just
good.
a bit. I'm just doing a bit.
I think my favorite part about that is like you guys bought a house and you were constantly at a hardware store.
Hmm.
We bought a house, 10 years ago or something. For quite a long time, like you could have just had our mail sent to Lowe's or Home Depot because we were there like every goddamn day. And
Hmm.
I've said to so many people over the years, like I've talked to my boss about it, whatever. I'm like, for a pretty long period of time, like we lived in some hellholes, you know, or like
Hmm.
all my friends live in these houses where there were like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dudes. Places that were like didn't want your parents to ever see.
Right.
Like I can count on one hand the amount of times I had to call a landlord to do something. You go buy a home in a neighborhood that's probably nicer than pretty much any you've lived in your adult life. The house is newer than any of those homes that you lived in
Right.
with a bunch of dudes.
Mm-hmm.
The appliances are newer. Everything is new. And they are every single one of them is like some kind of money trap. Like, I lived in this like house on Coutant that had double decker furniture in the living room. It was like DIY, like someone just like nailed a couch onto the top of another couch. It was missing a stair to go to the upstairs. You just had to step
Mm-hmm.
over. If it was in the dark and you were coming down at night, you better remember where the stair was that was gone. But nothing broke, like there was no, oh God, emergency hot water tank replacement or anything, oh God, I need to call an electrician. Oh, or I need to like look up on how to fix this thing myself.
Right.
Like I live in like a like the most suburban ass neighborhood you imaginable. Yeah, all of my shit.
Yeah.
I've replaced the air conditioning, the furnace. I'm on my third hot water tank in 10 years. How many hot water tanks did our parents probably have ever? Two. Yeah, I've had three in 10 years. I'm on my third different kitchen, full kitchen, because of pipes bursting, exploding. I don't even live in a place that's cold. The pipes don't burst because it
Right.
gets cold. This isn't a Cleveland situation. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And on.
Right.
And I'm like, how is this possible? The house I lived in that was 100 years old in a borderline neighborhood, no issue. The house I purchased in the suburbs, shithole.
Oh,
Fucking shithole.
yep.
You know,
What are you gonna do? And ours
I
wasn't
hate
too
it.
bad, but like, yeah, there's just like a lot of mostly cosmetic shit that we wanted to do, which was like probably what led to a lot of issues down the road. But
Yeah,
anyways, neither here nor there.
we ended up having to do a bunch of cosmetic stuff too. But the amount of stuff that just has failed. I just had to replace our septic system.
That's insane.
You know how much that? What do you think? What do you think?
I don't even know. I'm thinking like tens of thousands of dollars, maybe.
Yeah, it was $15,000.
Brutal.
I'd rather have gone and laid down on the highway.
There goes the equity in the home.
You know, yeah, it's just one of those like I have three kids. I'm like the only income. I don't have
Right.
$15,000 liquid just like hanging out.
Right.
But it took months because the county. It's this whole thing. It took
Yeah, get
months.
architects involved and shit like
Oh yeah,
that.
the county engineer. The county decides exactly what it is, and a contractor just does the work. But so like, oh, we're gonna do soil testing. Oh, we got to do, well, one day the gas company's gonna come out and mark all the lines. I mean, it's just little things, big things, whatever. And now I have no backyard. It's just dirt, just red dirt. Side of the house, just red dirt. Front yard, 2/3 red dirt. I'm
So you're mowing
sure
a
that
lot.
not anymore. Uh,
Hell yeah, brother.
which is the only house thing I like doing. Like our yard's pretty
Really?
big. Yeah. Why about how? Cause I got a riding mower. That's
Oh,
fun when you've got a riding mower.
yeah. Simple joys in life.
And I just not anymore. No, no riding mower. I think
Growing up
my
sucks.
AirPods just indicated that they're going to die. Do I sound different?
No, but we could wrap up. Thank you so much for doing this. I love you.
Love you too, man.
Uh,
Thank you for having me. I don't know if we, if you like go through it all and find out it really sucks ass, we can just do it again another night.
I'm sure it's fine, but I'll probably have you back on again because
Yeah,
this was fun.
I couldn't have possibly had more fun. We're on the. I mean, it's 12. It's 12:20.
Yeah, actually, we are done because my card's full. I don't know
Oh,
when that happened. So, all right.
I love you.
I'll I love you too. I'll
Yeah, let me know.
hopefully. I'm sure the ending of this is I don't know.
Well,
We
we can.
did go way longer than I thought.
Yeah. Well, maybe we just have to get back on and redo the ending at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me
All
know.
right.
I'm willing to do anything. This was
All right.
be the highlight of my week and probably my year. So,
Like same. All right,
all
buddy.
right.
I love you. I'll
Love
talk
you
to you
too, man.
soon.
All right.